In the third year of my relationship with my girlfriend Evelyn, I was ready to propose to her in the dimly lit room. I eagerly awaited her arrival. As soon as the door was pushed open a crack, a male voice stopped her. "Evelyn, what's so great about that poor guy James, who's mentally ill? Do you really like him that much?" Evelyn's voice was gentle. "No, I don't. But who would have thought that he looks like Henry, and is just not going to live long? When he's dead, my Henry will be coming back soon." As soon as Evelyn finished speaking, William's laughter rang out, one after another. Each laugh was more mocking than the last. He deliberately raised his voice as if speaking to someone on purpose. "I knew it. How could you, Evelyn? Like that mentally ill guy. On a sunny day, I don't know if the temperature in the private room was set too low, or what, but a sudden chill rose in my heart and lingered for a long time. I couldn't believe these were the words coming out of Evelyn's mouth. But outside the door, the soft H from Evelyn was like a slap in the face for me. She added, "Don't call him brother-in-law in the future. Henry will be unhappy if he finds out when he comes back." William laughed and agreed with her. The ring box in my hand hurt me painfully. Clearly, that night she wasn't like this. These days, the temperature had risen, and it was extremely hot. In the past, I would always hold Evelyn in my arms, but although the air conditioner was on today, it was still sweltering. Instead of holding Evelyn in my arms as I usually did, I rolled over to the other side in my sleep. In the middle of the night, when I was half asleep and half awake, a suppressed sobbing sound reached my ears, and I suddenly woke up. I turned on the light. Evelyn was beside me, covering her face with both hands, and tears were seeping out from between her fingers. I went up to her and asked what was wrong. She nestled into my arms pitifully and sobbed. "Why didn't you hold me while sleeping? Do you not love me anymore, Brother James?" At that moment, ripples stirred in my heart, and joy welled up in my chest. Evelyn hugged me and kept whispering in my ear, "Brother James, don't leave me. Will you stay with me forever?" I naturally agreed over and over again. The next day, I told William about this. William was Evelyn's childhood friend, who grew up together with her, and he was also well acquainted with Evelyn's friends in that circle. When Evelyn first introduced me to her friends, William came up enthusiastically and treated me like a brother, calling me I had been on guard against him before. After all, among that group of people, he was the only male. I couldn't help but wonder if he was just the neighbor boy. But there was no behavior that crossed the line between him and Evelyn. I couldn't help but despise myself for being too sensitive and petty. After I told William about that incident, William laughed and teased me. He said that Evelyn loved me very much. If Evelyn loved me very much, then why couldn't Evelyn understand the countless hints I had given her that I wanted to marry her? William saw through what was in my mind at a glance and comforted me. "Evelyn is just like that. She has a temper of a young lady and has been spoiled, but she is only cautious in front of you. You might as well propose to her directly and make her really touched." His words made me think deeply, so I naturally missed the flash of mockery in his eyes. Finally, under William's constant persuasion, I planned today's proposal scene with him. In the dimly lit private room, there were all the friends from their circle that William had invited. There were no friends of mine. To be precise, I had no friends ever since my family went bankrupt and my parents jumped off the building and died in front of me. I had no friends. It wasn't false that William said I was mentally ill. A sudden burst of laughter interrupted my thoughts. This laughter came from the group of people in the room. With a click, the switch was turned on by Evelyn, who came in. The intense and dazzling light made my eyes ache and feel sour. I rubbed my eyes to get rid of the discomfort, and looked up at Evelyn. She seemed to be really unaware, and was a little stunned when she saw the scene. William pretended to come towards me, trying to act familiar, as before. When he was about to touch me, I raised my hand and pushed him away hard. William said innocently, "Brother, why did you suddenly push me?" I ignored his words and stared straight at Evelyn, asking, "Evelyn, who am I?" Evelyn's expression was indifferent. She came up and helped William up. William gave me a triumphant smile. Evelyn said, "Brother James, stop making trouble." I turned a deaf ear and asked again, "Evelyn, who am I?" A trace of unhappiness flashed across Evelyn's face, and her friends tried to smooth things over for her. "Hey brother-in-law, we're all friends. If you have any conflicts with Evelyn, talk it out. Why are you taking your anger out on William?" That's right. How innocent William is. Innocent. Yes, they were the most innocent. I looked around. Evelyn's group of friends had more or less a look of disdain on their faces. Some of them also had the look of watching the fun. Why were they like this? The answer was obvious. If it wasn't for Evelyn's attitude as a guide beforehand, would they dare to act like this? I raised my foot and walked towards William, who was gloating. The provocation on his face hadn't had time to fade away. I grabbed his wrist and pulled him so that he stumbled. The eyes of everyone in the room fell on the two of us. William pretended to shiver and said pitifully, "Sister." I raised my right hand into a fist and punched him without mercy. The ring on my right hand left a large red mark on his face. William stumbled and almost fell to the ground. Seeing that he could still barely stand, I directly kicked him over, mentally ill. Today I'll show you what a person with a mental breakdown looks like. Before anyone could react, I pinned him to the ground and punched him twice. More just as I raised my third punch, Evelyn, who had come to her senses, stopped me. She pushed me hard, and her hand landed on my face. My face stung painfully, and Evelyn's voice sounded very angry. "James, have you had enough of this nonsense?" "No." I stared at her fiercely. I suddenly realized that I had never really seen through this young lady, Evelyn. The atmosphere in the private room fell silent. I slowly stood up, and Evelyn stood in front of William in a protective stance. Her close friends also looked at me unkindly. I watched as I overturned the cake that I had prepared for a long time. I tore off the decorative balloons in the private room like I was going crazy. Those delicate decorations were turned into a mess by me. Finally, I took off the ring on my right hand and put it into the prepared proposal ring box. With the setting of this ring, the pair of couple rings looked even rougher. The couple rings were made by me with my own hands, and this ring was a gift from Evelyn on our first anniversary. There was not a single scratch on the ring. I had taken the best care of it. I lowered my eyes and didn't look at the two of them. I asked Evelyn, "Evelyn, did you say that you didn't want Henry to leave you or me?" Actually, I knew the answer to this question, but after loving for so long, how could I give up so easily? I'm not a heartless God or Buddha. For a long time, I didn't get an answer from Evelyn. In fact, it wasn't really that silence was the best answer. I pretended to understand and nodded. I took the ring box and walked next to the overturned cake. I scooped up a small piece of cake and slowly pressed the ring box into the cake. Then the cake plate with the ring box drew a perfect parabola in the air. It hit Evelyn's face accurately. The cake made Evelyn look all in a mess, and I laughed. I laughed heartily, holding my stomach. Tears kept streaming from the corners of my eyes as I laughed. William quickly wiped the cake off Evelyn, but Evelyn stood there like a log. She didn't say a word. I squinted my eyes and had a bright smile. On my lips, "Evelyn, happy breakup." After saying that, I didn't linger any longer and turned towards the door of the private room. Evelyn finally reacted. She hurried forward and grabbed the sleeve of my clothes. I frowned and turned around. I saw Evelyn looking panicked, her eyes fixed on me, full of the pain of being let down after being in love. When Evelyn opened her mouth, her voice had a kind of strange stubbornness. "James, you actually want to break up with me?" My expression was cold, as if she had been stimulated by something. Evelyn stubbornly asked again, "James, I'm asking you one last time, are you sure you want to break up with me?" I shook off her hand, mustered up all my strength, and slapped her hard. "Evelyn, stop pretending to be innocent. Isn't this all you're doing?" After being slapped, she released her hold on me. Instead, she walked towards William with big strides. She pushed William onto the sofa and kissed him hard. Finally, her face was slightly red as she nestled in William's arms. Evelyn looked at me. The look in her eyes was as if she was saying, "James, who do you think you are? I don't need you." I didn't stay any longer and quickly walked out of the door of the private room. On the street, the gentle breeze blew slowly, but it couldn't relieve that feeling of nausea. The scene of Evelyn and William kissing was firmly engraved in my mind. It lingered and wouldn't go away. I suddenly remembered that scene from many years ago. The sticky, bright red blood splashed all over me. My mother smiled with relief, while my father's eyes remained open in death. The two scenes overlapped, and the feeling of nausea couldn't be suppressed any longer. I leaned against the trash can and vomited until I felt dizzy, but I didn't cry, not even a single physiological tear. I took a taxi and went to the cemetery. I stared blankly at the photo on the tombstone for a long time. The person in the photo was smiling kindly. I leaned against the tombstone and reached out to stroke the photo. I called out softly, "Grandma." Just after this one call, the negative emotions that I had suppressed for a long time broke out completely. Tears blurred my eyes. The person in the photo became more and more blurred. "Grandma, I lost the bet. I really lost the bet. Grandma." I lay there crying my heart out in a daze. I seemed to feel a pair of warm hands gently rubbing the top of my head. A kind voice comforted me. "Be good, James. Don't be afraid. James, Grandma is here, and Grandma will always be here." I wiped away my tears in a hurry. I looked up but felt dazed. Grandma had already passed away. How could she come to comfort me again? I recalled the past between Evelyn and me. I met her at the place where I was doing a part-time job. At that time, my family went bankrupt. My father was devastated and started to find a mistress outside. The relationship between him and my mother broke down. The two of them quarreled, fought, and made a ruckus all day long. After that, when my mother caught my father in bed with someone else again, she jumped off the building. She took my father with her and died in front of me. The huge amount of debt and my grandma's astronomical medical expenses weighed heavily on me alone. I sold the house we used to live in and those luxury cars, but it still wasn't enough. I could only work part-time like crazy during my spare time. Only then could I pay off a little of the debt. When I first met Evelyn, she stared at my face in a daze for a long time. Later, I found out that Evelyn and I were from the same school. By another chance encounter, Evelyn took the initiative to ask for my contact information. I refused, but later she was persistent and pursued me high-profilely for a long time, saying that she fell in love with me at first sight. I didn't believe in love at first sight. I even less believed that a young lady like Evelyn would take a fancy to a poor guy like me who had nothing. The turning point between Evelyn and me came on that stormy night after I finished my part-time job. I received a call from the hospital. The nurse said that Grandma was not going to make it. It started to rain suddenly, and I didn't have an umbrella. When I went out, I realized that this couldn't be solved with just an umbrella. The heavy rainfall caused waterlogging, and the street was empty. I looked at the surging rainwater, and a feeling of helplessness welled up in my heart. It was at that moment that Evelyn's private car emerged, breaking through the rising water. She asked the driver to take me to the hospital. When I arrived, Grandma was already delirious. The illness had tortured her until she was emaciated. She lay in the hospital bed, unable to even open her eyes. She was still mumbling continuously, "James, James." I trembled and took her hand. Grandma opened her eyes with great effort, and her voice was intermittent. She didn't have the strength left, and spoke very softly, but I heard clearly she was saying, "Grandma is about to leave. What will happen to my James? My James?" My voice was choked with sobs, and I forced myself to speak despite the trembling. "Grandma, don't leave. Don't leave, okay?" But Grandma's voice grew weaker and weaker. I knew I couldn't keep her with me. "Don't cry, James. Grandma isn't afraid of death. After Grandma leaves, James should live a good life." "No, I can't live a good life without you, Grandma." I saw a tear roll down Grandma's wrinkled face and disappear into the deep furrows. She said, "Grandma can't rest easy about you. Grandma can't rest easy about you." I didn't know when Evelyn came up. She held the hands that were overlapping mine and Grandma's. Her hands were warm and delicate. She assured Grandma, "Grandma, I'm Evelyn. Do you remember me? Don't worry, Grandma. I will stay with Brother James for the rest of my life." Grandma knew Evelyn. When Evelyn was pursuing me, she came to visit Grandma quite often. Grandma had a good impression of her. After hearing her words, Grandma pulled her hand out of mine. Instead, she took my hand and Evelyn's hand and put them together with all her remaining strength. She said the last words to Evelyn, "Must stay with James." After saying that, Grandma closed her eyes. This little old lady who had doted on me for most of my life left me forever. My heart ached sharply. Later, Evelyn accompanied me to hold Grandma's funeral. I stared at the ashes of the paper in the brazier, rising and falling. I hoped they could carry a little more of my beating yearning to Grandma. For several days, Evelyn stayed by my side without leaving for a moment. Perhaps because Grandma had left, the feeling of loneliness was about to drown me completely. I decided to take a gamble. To take a gamble on whether this person who took me to see Grandma for the last time on that stormy night was worthy of my sincere love. I told her about my parents. I told her that the doctor told me that my mother had hereditary mental illness. I told her that I had recently started relying on medication for treatment. Evelyn listened quietly as I told her everything about me, and then she hugged me. I asked her, "Evelyn, do you really want to be with me?" She nodded firmly and said, "I promised Grandma, and I won't break my promise." I believed her. What did my sincere love get in return? After several years of being together, I found out that I was just a substitute. I was someone who could be replaced and discarded at any time. "Grandma, I don't dare to take a gamble anymore." I stayed at the cemetery until evening, and finally, I got up and left. I went back to the old house where I used to live with Grandma. As soon as I opened the door and looked up, in the most prominent position, there used to be a photo of Grandma and me hanging, but now, it was empty. That photo was at the place where Evelyn and I lived together after we moved in together. I spent the whole night in this old house, full of the flavor of the times. This night was surprisingly peaceful. The next day, I received a message from Evelyn. "Come and pack your things today. If you don't come, I'll throw them all away." The words were full of sharpness, making my heart ache. Among my things, there was a photo of Grandma and me. "Evelyn, how can you be worthy of Grandma like this?" I found an old empty suitcase from the old house, and was ready to go and pack my things. The clear, ambiguous sounds coming through the door made my hand, that was about to knock on the door, stop. The voices of William and Evelyn were intertwined, and it vaguely seemed to be getting more intense. The voices were very close, close enough for me, standing at the door, to hear clearly. I don't know if this was on purpose by Evelyn or not. All I knew was that the two voices kept swirling in my mind, gradually wearing away my rationality bit by bit. I could even imagine their position at this moment. Most likely, they were on the sofa that I had hesitated over and chosen after a long time. The color of the sofa was very bright in this house, which was a perfect work by a famous designer. It was the most abrupt thing there, but Evelyn said it was okay, as long as I liked it. If I liked it, then we would buy it. I was overjoyed, watching her spoil me again and make exceptions for me. But her exceptions weren't because she loved me. They were because I looked like someone else. The sofa that I had carefully selected had also become the place where Evelyn had an intimate moment with someone else. It was truly disgusting. William's voice came out intermittently. Evelyn, don't you think it's funny that night was your anniversary with Henry Slots, why you were crying, and he actually thought it was because he didn't hold you? Evelyn's voice was cold. Stop talking, William. Still, he didn't stop and pretended to be aggrieved. Evelyn, why did you choose that mentally ill guy as a substitute? I'm willing to be Henry's substitute for you. I suddenly felt like laughing, but there was always a breath stuck in my chest, neither going up nor coming down, making me. I felt extremely uncomfortable. My hand had unconsciously clenched tightly and it was still shaking uncontrollably. My fingertips also turned pale. I raised my leg and kicked the door. If one kick wasn't enough to vent my anger, then 2 or 3 kicks would have to do. I heard William's furious voice. Who is it? Are you crazy? But I completely ignored it and continued to kick hard. The door banged loudly as I kicked it, and the people inside were forced to stop their actions. When Evelyn opened the door and saw it was me, she was stunned. I looked Evelyn up and down. She was only wearing a blanket. The lipstick on her lips had all smudged. Her shoulders were half exposed, and the ambiguous marks were very obvious. I bypassed Evelyn and looked at William behind her. William's clothes were in a mess. When he saw me, he wasn't as stunned as Evelyn. William looked at me provocatively. The corner of his mouth curled into a triumphant smile. James, Evelyn reached out her hand to pull me, but I sidestepped to avoid her. Her hand froze in midair, awkwardly caught between advancing and retreating. Seeing my reaction, her tone turned unfriendly as well. Didn't we break up? What are you doing here? Regretting it? Do you want to beg me to get back together? With these 4 consecutive questions, she actually seemed to gain confidence in herself. I was too lazy to deal with her, so I bypassed her and went straight to pack my things. Evelyn was unexpectedly silent. It didn't take me long to pack my things, but after searching everywhere, I still couldn't find that group photo. That was the last photo of me and my grandmother. Evelyn knew how important that photo was to me. I asked Evelyn with a cold face, "Where's the photo?" Evelyn looked at me with a confused expression and was about to say something when William's voice sounded puzzled. He twirled the photo frame in his hand carelessly. "Brother-in-law, are you looking for this?" After he said that, he shook it, and the photo frame swayed precariously in his hand. My pupils suddenly shrank, and my voice involuntarily trembled a bit. "Give it to me." William stood up and walked towards me. He held the photo frame out towards me, and just as I was about to reach out to take it, the photo frame fell to the ground quickly before I could grab it and then broke into pieces. My pupils shrank sharply again, and without hesitation, I raised my hand and threw a punch. William fell to the ground as a result. Evelyn let out a scream and accused me. "James, are you having a mental breakdown?" William pretended to be understanding, but when he faced me, he showed an undisguised smile. His eyes seemed to be saying, "See, the person you like so much is taking my side like this." Then he said, "It's not his fault. I didn't hold it properly and accidentally dropped it. That's why Brother James reacted like this. It's my fault I didn't pay attention to their false acting." I stepped forward and pushed them both aside, trying to pick up the photo frame on the ground, but Evelyn seemed to go crazy. For some reason, she blocked in front of me and pushed me down at William's feet. Evelyn looked down at me haughtily and apologized to him. I immediately retorted, "Evelyn, don't dream." William was still adding fuel to the fire beside us. Evelyn suddenly took the photo out of the broken photo frame. I didn't know what Evelyn was going to do, but an inexplicable feeling of unease welled up in my heart. Evelyn's tone was dangerous as she repeated, "James, apologize." "Evelyn, what right do you have to make me apologize to him? Who do you think you are?" Before I could finish my sentence, Evelyn quickly walked into the bathroom with the door open. I clearly saw what Evelyn was doing. The photo was torn into pieces in her hands. She stopped her action when she heard my voice, the corner of her mouth curling into a mocking smile. My voice was clearly trembling. "I'll apologize to him. I'll apologize to William. Please give me the photo back. I'm begging you." My submission didn't soften Evelyn's heart. The smile on her lips grew even wider. She looked at me as if I were a clown, watching me run towards her in a sorry state. She moved her mouth but didn't make a sound, but I clearly saw that her mouth was forming the words, "It's too late." With a flick of her hand, accompanied by the sound of rushing water, the pieces of the photo disappeared completely. I slumped down beside the toilet and picked up a piece of the remaining fragment. On the fragment was a part of my grandmother's clothes. I didn't know when, but I was already in tears. My heart felt as if it had been stabbed hard, bleeding profusely. The pain was beyond words. I couldn't keep anyone, and now I couldn't even keep a single photo. Evelyn didn't let me go. Her voice kept coming. "James, this is what you asked for. Don't blame me. People like you deserve not to be loved." William, also echoed Evelyn. Evelyn, his parents are dead and his grandmother is dead. Why is he still alive and well? Oh no, I was wrong. He won't live long either. Who knows when this mentally ill person will commit suicide when he can't think straight. Their words were like knives, stabbing at me mercilessly. The wounds that I had once revealed to Evelyn now had all become weapons for her to hurt me with. I was in a complete daze, and the noise in my ears made my mood even lower. I stood up and didn't say a word, clutching the fragment in my hand. I even left my luggage in the living room. The moment I opened the door of my home, I barely came to my senses from my muddled state. I raised my hand and touched the wall where the photo used to hang, but was now empty. The photo had been torn to pieces and could never be found again. There was no way to hang any photo on this wall anymore. I curled up and lay in a ball on the sofa. The curtains were tightly drawn, and after the door was closed, I was completely in the dark. When a person can't see, other senses will be infinitely magnified. I heard a heavy rainstorm outside the window. The raindrops hit the window pane, crackling. From time to time, there were flashes of lightning that briefly illuminated the dim room. Scenes from before flashed through my mind like a revolving lantern. Sometimes I saw my parents jumping off the building and the warm blood splashing onto me. It was so hot. Sometimes it was Evelyn in the rainstorm, braving the heavy rain to take me to see my grandmother. Sometimes I saw the cold tombstone, and sometimes it was the time when I was with Evelyn. Finally, it was Evelyn's hard slap that shattered countless beautiful memories of us. I closed my eyes, my mind filled with chaotic thoughts that I couldn't sort out. Grandma, I'm sorry. Grandma, James should have submitted earlier. At least I could have kept the photo with you. Grandma, I was wrong. My actions were no longer controlled by my consciousness but completely driven by my emotions. I poured bottle after bottle of alcohol into my mouth. Just drink. A little more. I won't be sad when I'm drunk. The spilled alcohol soaked my clothes. I staggered to my feet, muttering continuously. I can't do this. Grandma doesn't like James drinking. If Grandma gets angry, she won't come back to see me. I wanted to go to the bathroom to take a shower. When I passed by the table, I lost my balance and knocked over the medicine bottles on it. The lids of the medicine bottles weren't tightened properly, and the pills inside rolled all over the floor. I crawled on the ground to pick them up, my hands full of pills, but I couldn't find the bottles. I tried hard to stay conscious, but my consciousness was uncontrollably fading. I searched for a long time but couldn't see where the bottles had rolled to. The tears that hadn't fallen before suddenly streamed down. Grandma, I can't find where the bottles went. I didn't mean to mess up the house. Grandma, forgive me. Will you forgive me? My consciousness was completely gone, and I swallowed something. Randomly, maybe I was too drunk, but I actually heard the deafening knocking on the door outside with my name interspersed in between. James. But I was really too sleepy. In the last second before I closed my eyes, I actually saw a face that looked exactly like mine. He burst through the door, his face full of panic. As soon as I opened my eyes, a pair of hands covered my face. They were fair and slender, extremely beautiful. Then a sweet voice sounded. The hospital lights are too bright. You should take it easy first. After a while, those hands moved away. I finally saw the owner of those beautiful hands. After seeing her face, I realized that those hands were just the icing on the cake for her. The woman had a smile in her eyes, and the corners of her mouth curved into a beautiful arc. She stared straight at me, but it didn't make me feel uncomfortable at all. Before I could ask my question, she stood up. I'll go call the doctor to check on you. No. The words of refusal got stuck in my throat, and the woman had already trotted out. After waking up, the after effects of the gastri.c. lavage made me extremely uncomfortable. I leaned on the bed and managed to get up, my mind full of chaotic thoughts, looking at the traffic on the street. I let out a sigh, thinking I was such a loser. Yes, I ran away. It didn't matter who that man was, the one who looked almost exactly like me that I saw before I passed out, and this sweet girl today. It didn't matter anymore. Since there are people who are bold and brave, there should naturally be room for those who are timid and want to run away. After getting home, I was urged to go to work by a call from the company's HR department. These days, I had been so tortured by Evelyn that I even forgot that my leave time was almost up. The next day, the sun was shining brightly, accompanied by a gentle breeze that wasn't too hot. It swept away the haze that had hung over me for the past few days. But in such nice weather, there appeared someone who made me feel annoyed. I frowned and stared at William, my face full of impatience. I stepped back half a step wearily. There are only the two of us here. Why are you still putting on an act? Aren't you tired? He withdrew his hand, but his body still blocked my way. I just want to treat you to a cup of coffee and catch up. Considering our past relationship, I believe brother-in-law won't refuse to give me this face. Right when he said those two words, his tone was obviously emphasized. I was too lazy to pay attention to him and turned to leave. He still stubbornly blocked my way and said loudly, "Brother, I know I was wrong about some things, so I sincerely came to talk to you. It was the rush hour for work, and his words attracted many people to look in our direction. He said proudly, having a cup of coffee in exchange for you being able to work well in this company is a great deal, isn't it? William put his hand on the table and slowly twirled the ring on his ring finger. I recognized it without having to look closely. It was the ring that Evelyn gave me, the one that I finally wrapped in cake and threw in her face. When William saw that I noticed the ring, his expression remained calm. I didn't expect that you like picking up other people's trash so much. William seemed to be deliberately waiting for me to say this. He looked at me mockingly. Trash that I threw away. He raised his right hand in front of me and asked again, are you saying this is the trash you threw away? I was completely confused by him. James, what if I say this ring is mine? My hand holding the coffee cup trembled, and the warm liquid splashed onto my hand, leaving a red mark. Do you know when I got together with Evelyn? It was before you even met each other. He answered his own question. So it's you who's the third party. His words were like a huge stone crashing into the originally calm lake. I didn't show my emotions on my face and retorted, then what? About your status, are you just her? I paused and added, brother? The smile on William's face faded, but he immediately seemed to think of something and forced a smile. He pushed his phone in front of me, motioning for me to look at it. As soon as I glanced at the screen, I couldn't stop trembling all over. William stood up, resting his hands on the table, and his voice came from above my head. James, you had an episode on the last anniversary, right? Do you know why Evelyn suddenly had something to do and had to come back late? He leaned closer to me. Because Evelyn saw you having an episode. William's words were like a spell, piercing into my ears one by one. She said she was scared when she saw you acting like a madman, so she came to me for comfort. James, you have no idea that although Evelyn was in a bad mood because of you that day, she was extremely charming. Under me, I turned the volume of the video to the maximum, and she didn't react at all when she heard your cries. Instead, she kept saying sweet words to me. As William spoke, he gradually increased the volume of the video. He watched with great interest as I shrank back. Listen how pitiful you sound. I was gasping for breath, and my nails dug deep into my flesh, but I didn't even notice. This is the ring that Evelyn casually took from me that day to preemptively give to you. You actually cherished it for so long. He hadn't finished speaking yet when suddenly William beside me was pulled away, and the sound of a fist hitting his face was extremely loud in the not-too-crowded coffee shop. The phone in front of me was picked up by a hand, and then the phone shattered into pieces on the ground. Henry. I looked up at the sound of William's shocked and uncertain voice and saw a handsome face. It was him, the person I saw before I passed out. Before I could say anything, Henry sat down beside me. He whispered in my ear, don't be afraid. Your brother is back to support you. There was a pleasant fragrance of gardenias around Henry. For some reason, that sentence soothed my agitated emotions. Just now, I mumbled a couple of times, tears streaming down my cheeks, and instinctively replied, okay. He ruffled my hair and then walked towards William. William covered his swollen left face with one hand and pointed at me with the other. Stuttering, Henry, he's the substitute that Evelyn found. Don't call me that. We all know what happened back then. And that Evelyn of yours, does she even deserve to find James as a substitute? As he spoke, he stepped closer and closer to William. William was forced to keep backing away, his face filled with fear. This confrontation ended with William hitting the decorations behind him and falling down. Henry stepped on William's shoulder, preventing him from getting up. William, how dare you act so arrogantly when you're just a tool for satisfying desires? Where do you get the nerve? He increased the pressure on his foot, and William let out a cry, sweating from the pain. Henry showed no mercy to him. What do you want to complain to Evelyn? I'll help you. He took out his phone, and after only a few rings, Evelyn's uncertain voice came from the other end. Henry, Evelyn, come and take your tool away. After saying that, he hung up the phone without mercy. Evelyn arrived quickly. When William saw her, he immediately called out to her, but she ignored him and walked straight towards Henry. She was scolded by Henry. Just stand there. I feel sick if you get too close to me, Evelyn said sadly. Henry, you're finally back. I've been waiting for you, Henry said unceremoniously. Waiting for me. If I remember correctly, we broke up a long time ago. Evelyn, you're not going to say how much you love me, are you? Your love is the most disgusting thing in the world to me, there's no exception. With every word he said, Evelyn's face turned paler. Henry, I didn't. I think it's dirty to talk to you. Stay away from me. After saying that, he stopped arguing with Evelyn. He removed his foot from William's shoulder, grabbed me, and left. Just as we were about to walk out of the coffee shop, he paused slightly. He turned back, poured half of the coffee on the table onto Evelyn, and threw the other half, along with the cup, directly at William. I heard him say, "You two are such a perfect match. Enjoy your coffee properly, you idiots." In the small room, I quietly listened to what Henry had to say. Seeing that I wasn't surprised, he was instead puzzled. Do you believe me? Why not? I played with the report in my hand, trying hard to hide the tremor in my voice, and said, if this is true, I'm not alone anymore. If this is true, then I have a brother. Henry's voice also choked up a bit. It's true, it's true. Tears silently streamed down. I'm timid, cowardly, inferior, and sometimes mentally unstable. I thought I would live alone in this world from now on, but now I have a brother. I have a brother. It's so nice. Soft sobs kept coming. Henry's tone was filled with pleading, completely different from his appearance in front of Evelyn earlier. James, your brother is back. From now on, you have your brother. Please don't have any more negative thoughts. Okay. I didn't want to commit suicide. Facing his intense gaze, I raised my head. Our eyes met for a long time, and I was the first to lower my head. I said sullenly, brother, I didn't want to commit suicide. I never did. Yes, I never thought about committing suicide, even though life has pushed me to the brink. Even though living makes me feel great pain, what's the use of committing suicide? Suicide will only make me disappear from this world, but my pain will still exist. I can't deny that I'm pessimistic to the core. The hereditary mental illness, the constantly collapsing emotions, I need to keep taking medicine to control myself. My actions are out of control, but my subconscious mind always says, James, you can't live even 1 second less. I promised Grandma I won't commit suicide, but I also won't look forward to the sunrise tomorrow. But now it's different. I looked up at Henry again, and my eyes welled up with tears under his gaze. Brother, you can trust me now. The company of my family is the most anticipated tomorrow. With Henry's company, I had the most calm, sleep. The next day, he received a phone call. Mysteriously, he took me to a taekwondo hall. As soon as we entered the door, I pointed at the two similar-looking people in front of me and couldn't say a word. There were two girls standing in the hall, of similar height and appearance, but I could still tell at a glance that the girl on the left, with slightly curly hair and a sweet smile, was the one from the hospital that day. Actually, it's not surprising that I could tell at a glance. It's just that the girl on the right, when she saw Henry, had bright eyes and wanted to get close to him. I looked at the two of them with a complicated expression. My brother patted her and said, I brought James here to learn taekwondo. Olivia, go and find him a reliable coach. Henry and I exchanged a glance and understood his intention. Olivia stood up angrily and was just about to leave when the girl who had been silent all this time spoke up. Brother, let me teach him. My brother was about to say something, but Olivia pulled him away. Olivia said proudly, Luna, take good care of my brother-in-law. The two of them walked further away, and I didn't hear my brother's last words clearly. It was probably, James, learn well. Next time you see an idiot, just beat him up. Then, in the huge hall, only Luna and I were left looking at each other awkwardly. Luna stared at me for a moment and then walked into a room on the side. When she came out again, she was holding a cup in her hand. She handed the cup to me and said sweetly, Is there anything wrong with your stomach? I was stunned for a while, before I realized that she was probably referring to the time I went to the hospital for gastric lavage. A warm current flowed through my heart. I shook my head and then looked at her. I thought she would ask me why I did that day, but she didn't. After watching me drink the cup of warm water, Luna carefully taught me some basic self-techniques. I didn't expect that such a large taekwondo hall was actually opened by a young girl. As time passed by, minute by minute, when we went out, we realized that it was already dark. Henry called and said that he had reserved a restaurant for dinner. When Luna and I arrived and just took our seats, an uninvited guest came. Evelyn looked at us in shock. My brother didn't even give her a glance and just ate his meal on his own. Olivia, beside him, was a bit dissatisfied. She directly kissed my brother on the lips, and after that, she stuck out her tongue at Evelyn. My brother looked at her with a smile. Just as he was about to take a tissue to wipe his mouth, Olivia pitifully grabbed the hem of his clothes. His hand that was holding the tissue quickly changed direction and rested on her head, rubbing it. Olivia looked even more proud, and Evelyn, who was about to step forward, abruptly stopped in her tracks. Don't look anymore, open your mouth. James, try this. I instinctively opened my mouth. Following Luna's words, when the food reached my mouth, I looked at the chopsticks in Luna's hand and then realized something. The temperature of the air conditioner is a bit high. As Luna said this, she also made a gesture of fanning herself with her hand. In my ears, the continuous laughter of my brother and Olivia came over, and I felt a bit embarrassed. When I looked up again, I didn't know when Evelyn had already left. When I got home, I nestled on the sofa, and the scenes from the day kept replaying in my mind. I buried my head deeply in the pillow. The rapid ringing of my phone interrupted my thoughts. It was a strange number. As soon as I answered it, Evelyn's voice sounded, Brother James, can we go back to the way we were? Will you forgive me just this once? I remained silent, and Evelyn became more and more anxious. Brother James, I'm on the rooftop now. If you don't forgive me, I'll jump off the building right now. Upon hearing her threat, I said coldly, "Sure, then go ahead and jump." Then I hung up the phone. Neatly, Evelyn, that girl with the temper of a young lady, is used to threatening people like this. I didn't believe that she would really jump off the building until the next day when I saw the news. My eyes dimmed. Luna sat beside me and accompanied me. When I heard the sound of the door opening, I got up in a hurry. "Brother, it has nothing to do with you. She had a falling out with William. They quarreled, and then she wanted to win your heart back. Moreover, the police have already investigated clearly. She accidentally fell off when Evelyn fell. William happened to come to find her. Evelyn died right in front of him. The police said that William must be crazy. He has now been sent to a mental hospital." Luna's voice was gentle. She hugged me tightly and said, "This is not your fault. They deserve it, Brother James. They deserve it." Okay, I responded to her, one by one, tightening my arms around her. Although that's what I said, I still couldn't help being affected to some extent. During that time, Henry and Olivia postponed their wedding to accompany me. Luna also often came to visit me at home. Actually, it wasn't just sometimes, she always came. Once, I accidentally saw her downstairs looking worried. Then I realized that on the days when she didn't come up, she had been downstairs. My brother said that Luna was afraid that if she came too frequently, it would make me dislike her, so she would often peek at me through the crack of the door quietly and then stay downstairs to keep watch. My heart was unconsciously touched. My brother asked me, "James, do you like Luna? Do I like her? I don't know either." He continued to ask me, "James, what are you afraid of?" My voice trembled a bit. "Brother, Luna is excellent. I'm afraid I'm not good enough for her," Olivia said angrily. "James, are you still a man? Luna has done so much for you." I looked at my brother, and he nodded affirmatively. The bitterness in my heart spread even more. The image of Luna calling me with a smile kept appearing in my mind. My brother encouraged me. "James, be brave and go for it. Luna is waiting for you downstairs." I rushed downstairs. When Luna saw me, the originally uneasy look on her face disappeared completely. She wanted to come towards me, but she was a bit timid. My heart felt sour. What a wonderful girl Luna is. She has done so much for me. What am I still worried about? The streetlight shone on Luna's gentle side face, adding a bit more softness to her. I suppressed the restlessness in my heart. I said to the person in front of me, "Let's get to know each other formally." "Hello, Luna. My name is James." Luna had a very sweet smile, just like the day we first met. In her eyes, my figure was clearly reflected. She said, "Hello, James. My name is Luna." The wind stopped, and my heart was moved. Later, a new group photo was hung on the wall of the small house. There were 2 men and 2 women in the photo. One pair was wearing a wedding dress and a white suit. The other pair was wearing a bridesmaid dress and a black suit. Their smiles were eye-catching, and love filled the air around them. The world can be good or bad. We can't decide what kind of people we meet or what kind of things we experience, but we can decide how we face them. If you are afraid and back off, it will be an abyss that mercilessly swallows you up. But if you are a little bit brave, you will find that it is just a small pit that you can cross with just a small step.